Show. Positively Pat Sim Show. Sailing through the morning light, catching waves with voices bright. Set your course for tales untold, entertainment pure and bold. Come aboard this journey new, stories fresh calling out to you. Saturdays are time to shine, Positively Pat's lifeline. Positively Pat Sim Show, every tale a treasure trove. Tune in now and set your sails, laughs and chats and wondrous tales. We ride the waves of joy and cheer. Every week we're standing here. Everyone keeps spirits high, morning sun in every eye. From epic quest to daily news, listen up, there's much to choose. Every word a gem we share. Saturday we conquer air. Positively Pat Sim Show, every tale a treasure trove. Tune in now and set your sails, laughs and chats and wondrous tales. We ride the waves of joy and cheer. Every week we're standing here. Everyone keeps spirits high, morning sun in every eye. In every eye. In every eye. Positively Pat Sim Show. Positively Pat Sim Show. Positively Pat Sim Show. Every tale a treasure trove. Tune in now and set your sails, laughs and chats and wondrous tales. We ride the waves of joy and cheer. Every week we're standing here. Everyone keeps spirits high. Morning sun in every eye. In every eye.
Sims Nation, welcome to another edition of the Positively Me Show. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, I am your host, Positively Pat Sims, and I am joined today by some very, very special guests and co-hosts. Well, co-host, and I'm very excited about today's episode, as I always am, because I'm a very excitable guy. I'm happy to be here every single Saturday with you guys. No better place to be than right here every Saturday morning on the greatest Saturday morning pro wrestling show on the planet. And today's show is about the most shocking pro wrestling moments in history. And we're going to kick things off here in just a moment. But first, I want to mention a couple things. Number one, we have our live chat up and running right here on our live YouTube stream. For all of you on WANT Radio that are joining us, welcome. We appreciate you. You've been with us since day one, June 2023, when we were the Positively Pat Sims radio program. Now we have expanded our reach. And ladies and gentlemen, in the live chat, we have a goal for Super Chats. All right, you want to be featured in Super Chats. You can do so, and you can rack up as many as we can get. Our goal today is 12. Or 10, sorry, 12. I like the number 12. 10. And when we hit 10 super chats, then this man right here, our co-host for today, the one and only Seth Sims, has been volunteered by me to sing
Wait, no.
God Bless America
What?
if we get 10 super chats.
No.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. That's all it's going to take. 10. And they are as low as 99 cents. So for about $10, you can get prime, pure quality entertainment in Seth Sims singing. Seth, how good are you at singing?
Depends on the range that I'm going for.
I was going to pick something else, but I couldn't. I was just quickly throwing something out there. All right.
Yeah, this one's weird. I don't think I've even heard people sing this one for like
You've heard
few
God
years.
Bless America?
No, I meant like for a few years.
You've watched WrestleMania with me every year. All right. And
They sing that in there?
yes.
I've never paid attention to them sing that in there. So,
Oh, wait. No, they sing America the Beautiful. My bad.
yeah.
Well, you can do that. Maybe we'll do that
The
one
last time
instead.
the last time I heard this one was like when we went to one of those like
on the Drew Carey Show.
I don't remember that on the Drew Carey show.
All right. Well, let's get to our Zoom guest today. We've got
Your mom.
one regular guest and one newbie to the show who's moving from the chat to the live feed. Ladies and gentlemen, first, let me introduce you to my good, dear, close personal friend, the one and only DDPY Warrior and his daughter, George Fenmore and Lori. Welcome to the show.
Hey guys.
Lori, say hi.
Hi.
There we go. There we go. All right. And also, my brand new Fast Track client and my dear close personal friend again,
Ooh.
the one and only Christopher Hall. Welcome to the show, Christopher.
Good morning. Hello.
There he is, ladies and gentlemen. Christopher. We would have volunteered Chris to sing for you, but we wanted it to be someone that we thought might be more embarrassed to do it. So get in that live chat. Use those super chats. Get us up to 10. And Seth, and we're going to remind you constantly throughout the show that we want to hear Seth sing God Bless America.
We're going to get to 9 super chats and it's going to stop.
Oh, your mother will make sure it hits 10.
They're going to save us. I'm going to be saved.
All right, guys.
I'm going to be saved. Someone save me.
So like I said, today's what?
I pressed the wrong button.
Oh, like I said, guys, today's topic is the most shocking moments in pro wrestling history. And guys, I'm going to throw this out there. I want to start with this. And it's an either or, right? I want to get a little debate going here, if there even is one to be had. All right?
Okay.
And I want you guys to tell me which is the most shocking moment. Now, I want to be very clear about this. I am not talking about the follow-through. I am not talking about the impact that it has had over time. I am talking about the moment itself. And Seth, you're only old enough to remember one of these moments. I remember both of these moments. And both of them were incredibly shocking.
Okay.
So it's going to be difficult, Seth, I think, for you to answer. But anybody else, if you remember these moments, which one was actually the most shocking? Not impactful, not best long-term. The most shocking in the moment. Was it, and you guys are going to know where I'm going with the very first one, was it the moment that John Cena turned heel?
Mm-hmm.
Or was it Hogan joining Hall and Nash and turning heel? Seth, since you know very little of the Hogan turn, other than what you've seen, just judged by the characters themselves, which one do you think was probably the most shocking? Hulk Hogan, the Real American, the red and yellow, or the never give up, never surrender, Vince will never turn him heel babyface, John Cena?
seeing how I had to rank these by most shocking based on public opinion, I'm gonna have to go with Hulk Hogan because he ranks before John Cena.
So you're going off the public opinion
Yeah,
of which is the most shocking.
yeah.
Right.
I know John Cena. I think it's because John Cena's wasn't as shocking for as long.
Well, the problem with Cena's was the follow through. That's why
Yeah.
it's like important not to take that into account and just focus on the moment
Yeah,
of the heel
I still
turn.
think the moment probably would have been Hulk Hogan though.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't really see this John Cena. I never thought it was going to happen. But again, I thought the same thing about Hogan was our hero. Hogan would never turn. All right, Chris, let's go to you. Which one do you find to be the legitimate most shocking moment, Hogan or Cena?
I don't know. I might be coming from a place of bias on this one, but the moment that introduced me to professional wrestling in general in my lifetime was, I feel like, the shock heard round the world was the moment that Hulk Hogan was also known as the always baby face, never go heel, went heel.
Right.
And when that happened, I had to tune in to find out what my neighbors were talking about, what the news was all about. So, and I feel like it wasn't just the follow through, but I also feel like the confusion of how flat the moment felt just led to Cena's feeling a little lackluster.
Okay. Well, that's well said. All right. I want to hear from Lori. I want to know Lori's opinion on this. Let's get another youngster in on the conversation. So, Lori, which one to you do you feel is the more shocking heel turn? Hulk Hogan?
Hulk Hogan.
You think Hulk Hogan? Okay, why? Why, my young apprentice?
I feel like with John Cena, I just feel like there wasn't a lot of build to it. So you couldn't, it was just like thrown in the moment. And it's like, huh? What is this?
It did feel really out of left field. George Fenmore, your thoughts on this one?
Well, I was that little Hulkamaniac as a kid, and when Hulk Hogan ended up being the third guy and gave that leg drop to the Macho Man and turned on everyone, it was just like my world was blown, right? Like,
Right.
again, it was Hulk Hogan was, Cena was the never turn heel, but Hogan was the original, right? Like, Cena will always be a cheap ripoff of Hogan, basically, when it comes to that. He was the original Superman, could never lose clean, yada, yada, yada. It was, everyone was take your prayers, say your vitamins, Hulk Hogan was like the man. And we thought Hogan was going to come out and save WCW. And then you always have Bobby Heenan getting that little, in everyone's ear saying how bad Hogan is. He's like, what side is he on? And everyone just thought it was Bobby Heenan, me and Bobby Heenan. And then Hogan turned on everyone, and it was just like, what?
Yeah. I think, didn't Heenan even say, like, I told you?
Right. Yeah. But like, here's the thing. I'll tell you what you can know. It was the most shocking. Look at the ring.
Oh yeah.
The fans were so whatever. They chucked garbage into that ring. They had cans hit people in the head. They had everything. That ring was full of trash at the end of that promo. And at the end of Cena's, nothing.
Right.
Now maybe different times and stuff like that, but it was kind of the same. Like people just were like livid.
Right. Yeah, like we literally, the Hogan turn, which they don't show very often, but a guy literally jumped the barricade and tried to get in the ring to get at these guys. And Holland Nash legitimately like pounded the guy and before security took him off. And now the thing, I think the reaction in Toronto for John Cena's heel turn, I don't think it was a no reaction. Like Grandmaster says, if you watch the turn, there is an audible reaction. But to me, it felt more like, to that live crowd, it felt more like another moment that we'll talk about later in the show, and that is the streak ending. At WrestleMania 30, when Brock won, there was dead silence. because I think a lot of people
Right.
were trying to process what they were seeing. And you have to remember, in the live crowd, if you've been to a live WWE show, there are moments where you're not exactly sure how you're supposed to react, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if, with the John Cena thing, if the fans just weren't quite sure how they were going to react. When Hogan turned, there was a little bit of a different feeling, I feel, because there were some fans that went, oh, like, oh no. And then you look at the crowd, there are some that are cheering the moment, because a lot of people down south, where WCW is known to be from, there was the Georgia promotion, the Atlanta promotion. They were turning on Hogan months prior. And that's great. Grandmaster, I love disagreement. Go ahead. Disagree with me. But I'm just giving my thoughts when I was watching it. I haven't really gone back and watched it multiple times, but I remember watching it live, and it was like, even here, I kind of had an initial moment of no, and then just silence as I watched the rest of it play out, right? The only noise came from my wife. That was really, the disgust that came from it. And that, to me, also spoke volumes that my wife, who hasn't been a wrestling fan her whole life, only just more recently got into it with the Cody Rhodes finishing the story at WrestleMania 40. And here comes, less than a year later, the heel turn that almost makes her give up on pro wrestling. That has to mean something, right? When a live crowd reacts, it means they either like it or hate it, like Brock's return. And I understand that, but the thing that you have to understand about a heel turn, you're not supposed to cheer it, right? Like Becky Lynch had a heel turn at one point on Charlotte Flair, and the fans went crazy, thus forcing them to pivot and move away from the heel turn, right? So if John Cena kicks Cody in the nuts and the crowd loses their crap, WWE's in the back going, oh, no, what did we do? Like, now everyone's turned on Cody, and they're cheering Cena. So the silence that you heard was, in my opinion, more likely to be the fans kind of going, okay, are we really seeing this? Because you heard the fans kind of clamoring a little bit more as the moment goes on. And I kind of encourage everybody to go back and watch both moments. You'll see Hogan's, I think, definitely is the most impactful, and it's the most shocking, right? And another thing that I want to bring up before we move on to the next shocking moment about both of these is leading into it. If you want to figure out which one's the more shocking moment, Cena was all in. Cena was good to do this. He was like, all right, let's go. Cena's kind of a team player. All right, that's the direction you want to go. Let's go. Let's do it. Right? Cena's already broken the record for let's Make-A-Wishes, and I almost said let's make a deals for Make-A-Wishes. And so it's like, what really is there to lose by this? But Hogan, from all accounts that I've heard from multiple people around the situation, I know I take anything Hogan says with kind of a grain of salt, but everybody around it, they all agree. Hogan was terrified. Hogan did not think that this was the right move up until he made it. And when he dropped the leg on Macho, I mean, it shocked the world. Like Chris said, it was the turn heard around the world. I mean, we never thought it was going to happen in our lifetime. I thought Hogan was like Ricky Steamboat, never turning. Right? So, good discussion. Good discussion. Grandmaster, I appreciate your thoughts and opinions. Chris DiCarlo, Natty Neidhart's heel turn because the WWE screwed her for many years. I agree. Let's talk about that really quickly. Seth, I don't know how much you know about this because this is more of a recent deal.
Yeah, I probably don't know.
George, how much you know about Natty's heel turn currently?
I'm all up to date.
Yeah. Like I believe, if I'm not mistaken, didn't it kind of begin outside of WWE? Like she started doing this new character in a different promotion.
Yeah, on like little indies that they'd let her go to, and other little special events that they would let her go to. She was doing the Natty gimmick.
Right.
And then fast forward to here, she was already in the process of. You could, if you go back and watch her stuff, she was making slight changes and doing the baby step way up there. It was a slow burn that no one noticed because Natty doesn't get a lot of airtime.
Right.
But if you watched her stuff, you could see that it was a slow burn there. And then she started training Maxine, and that's when she was really going into it. But she was still being that Natalia, cheery whatever thing. But she was getting more and more aggressive. And then you could. I saw it coming, but like others didn't. I go, she's gonna turn on her.
Oh yeah,
and then boom, she did. Right.
Yeah, I think it was a very open secret. Like it was not a well kept secret. And to Grandmaster's point, no one cared about Natty's heel turn. I mean I don't know, absolute only a Sith deals in absolute, Grandmaster. But the reason anybody didn't care about Natty's heels, I did, because I've always been a fan of Natty Neidhart. I have always felt she deserved better from WWE. But the reason nobody cared, if you're going to go there, is because of WWE. Natty was saddled with a fart gimmick for a while. And then she basically was there to like get all the other people over before she was ever like really a legend. Did George freeze?
He's just really good at standing still.
Did all of our Zoom freeze?
No, I can hear people.
Chris is moving. Chris is good.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just George. I love the shot that like I thought George was holding still really well.
Yeah.
My internet like lagged out or whatever, and I switched to 5G. So I don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was funny. All of a sudden, George just. And I was like, oh, he's holding that position so well.
Yeah.
All right, Chris, I want to get your thoughts on Natty Neidhart, and her heel turn. What do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a good move creatively. And she seems to be more comfortable in the role. Like it's something that's a little bit more organic coming from her.
Right.
And her pink and black Natalia was getting a little dry.
Oh, yeah.
It was something that I think if it got any more stale, she would have gotten buried. So yeah, I think it's a good way to boost her up and get her promoted.
So we have a question in the chat here. Why is turning heel more impactful than heels turning back to babyface? I think those turns are equally important. That's true. And Grandmaster makes a great point in the answer to the question. It does depend on the storyline. But does anybody have like right off the top of your head an example of a heel turning face that popped a crowd, that like was a huge moment, and like what our topic is?
I don't think I've
The Rock.
heard of that.
The Rock.
Yeah, when he was heel and turned face, the fans went nuts.
Oh yeah. Now how about this? Like this isn't really. I don't know if this is a shocking moment because it was built really well and the execution was done so well you barely even realized it happened. But there's the double turn at WrestleMania 13.
Rock and Brett.
No,
Not Rock.
Austin.
And Brett.
Austin and Brett. Yeah, I mean, going into WrestleMania, Brett was technically the babyface, though they'd been planting seeds for a while. And Austin was the heel that was getting more and more cheers from the audience. Had already cut the Austin 316 promo earlier. So that double turn, it was, like I said, not shocking, but just so well done by Brett and Austin that it was a beautiful moment.
I still find that as one of the most defining moments of anything that actually affected me, even on a personal level as a young teen. Like that moment was just like Austin refusing to quit after all the stuff I had going on in my personal life from when I was younger. That just struck a chord with me.
Yeah.
And I was like all in on Austin. Like period. Like
Right. That's why like
I just that moment was like pivotal.
That's why like it's anytime I see a character that passes out, right? They can't finish. They do that. It always pales in comparison to the Austin moment. And I think because you've got the visuals of it, it's the sharpshooter, it's just so well. That was pro wrestling for me at its finest.
Brutality of the match, the way he was in a figure four around the ring post, like all that, and then the blood is dripping down.
Yeah,
and confused. Yeah,
that's why it's in the opening video. It's one of the most iconic moments. And Grandmaster made a point here. A non-relevant character shouldn't turn heel in order to become relevant when there's no relevance prior. It was unnoticeable and non-impactful. I think there's something to be said there. I will kind of argue that when you're in a situation where you're not getting over, and if you're not getting over because of what you're doing, either you need to make a change or creative makes a change. Natty Neidhart, the heel character, is a Natty invention. That's what she did outside of WWE, and they incorporated it into her character. And that character outside of WWE was over. So it's like if you're trying to make it in a business, if you're trying to make it in any kind of entertainment or whatever, and you're finding that what you're doing isn't working, then you got to make a change. So I can't fault Natalie for doing a heel turn or making a change to her character, or WWE incorporating a character that's over outside of their WWE system into their storylines. So like I said, I get it, but at the same time, it's like stuff happens. You got to make a change, otherwise you just keep sinking. All right, let's go back into the actual topic here, the shocking moments. Seth.
Yep.
What do you got for us on the shocking moments front based on public opinion?
Well, number one was Brock Lesnar.
What about Brock Lesnar?
Him ending the
all right.
Undertaker
Let's
streak.
go there.
Okay.
Let's go there. Seth, you were there.
Yeah.
When that moment happened. WrestleMania 30. I was not happy.
Yeah.
I was like the guy in the front row.
Yeah, me too.
Seth, what do you remember about that moment? You were pretty young. That was that's almost 12 years ago.
I don't remember what it looked like. I just remember that even ignoring the streak, I thought 100% Undertaker was winning anyways.
He should have.
Like, it just looked like he would win, and then he just ends up coming out losing, and I was like, what?
Well,
what?
It was a rough match, and one of the things that we would find out later is Taker was essentially concussed very early on.
Oh.
And after the match had to be taken to the hospital and things like that. So Taker doesn't even remember the match.
Oh.
So that doesn't help the situation.
The streak's still going. We're fine.
Yeah, that would be. Yeah, I didn't lose.
Let's just get back on track, guys.
Right. And
cool.
We've had some false information on this show before, and I think we should probably be clear about this moment here too, because losing the streak was not Undertaker's idea or call.
I don't think it would.
It was Vince McMahon's idea or call. The story, as it's been told by multiple sources, Taker walked in and Vince was like, I think it's time. Right? And Taker has always been okay, if that's what you want, that's what I'm going to do. Again, Taker's kind of like Cena. He's that team player. If he has an objection, he'll speak up, but he understands the boss makes the decisions. But I agree with Chris DiCarlo. I mean, even though I'm biased because I'm a huge Undertaker fan, he's right back here. The streak should never have ended.
Yeah.
It was that one magic moment in pro wrestling that every year, we liked playing up that it was at risk, but there was something a little comforting about knowing the streak was going to be intact when it was all said and done.
Yeah.
Right? And if you were a great storyteller, which Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and Taker were for that 4-match run, and then CM Punk at 29, you can make that really feel like it's about to end and still leave the fans completely happy with the streak continuing on further and further. But I want to get all your guys' thoughts on this. Let's start with Chris. Chris, what were your thoughts on the moment the streak ended at WrestleMania 30?
I think if it was going to end at all, it should have ended his career. So if they knew they weren't going to be retiring The Undertaker in that moment, then they should have held off and waited for a more pivotal moment for it.
Right.
I don't mind that it was Brock Lesnar at all. It just felt really out of place. Timing felt really out of place in the moment for it. So I think the shock and I think the silence was creatively, it felt really weird to happen at that moment.
Yeah.
But I also agree that it shouldn't have happened at all. I think that the magic of The Undertaker was the streak, and it made him, because he was also immortal. He could rise from the dead. It didn't matter if you put him in a casket match or not, he could always come back. And so it was part of his character to have that streak. And so it was a really weird, it wasn't only just disappointing, it was creatively, it was weird.
Right. George, question for you here. It just left my head.
Good job.
It literally did.
I have a question. What was my question?
I
you know
swear
my
that's
question?
exactly what happened. That is exactly what happened because Chris had said something. It popped a question in my head, and as soon as Chris was done, I'm like, okay, here's the question. Gone.
Yeah.
Chris said that.
All I know is it had something to do with The Undertaker and the streak.
Man, why'd you have to make him lose his question, man?
Oh, okay.
easy.
I remember it. I remember it now. I do. I remember. I need to say it before it goes away. George,
Yo.
in that moment when The Undertaker lost at WrestleMania 30, am I the only one that thought that was a mistake?
No, I kind of 100% thought it was a mistake. And my opinions on it is that Lesnar didn't need it. He was already a former UFC heavyweight champion. He'd already been the world heavyweight champion. He'd already done all of these things. He was well established. It would make good for good TV as far as he could be one of the ones who could do it. But he shouldn't. If Taker was to lose it, it should have been to an up and oncoming talent that they wanted to make the next big guy.
Right.
I.e., most people aren't going to like to hear this. Roman Reigns, when he eventually did. Roman Reigns is the only other person to beat Taker at WrestleMania.
Right.
Taker's only lost twice.
Right.
It should have been Roman if they were going to do it at all. Because look, then the future we ended up getting the the tribal chief gimmick and all this other stuff. It should have been Roman and been the one that done it, and then Taker put his boots down on the end, and that should have been that.
Right.
To go back, what Chris was saying is that should have ended his thing. And if they chose not to do with Roman, then keep it, like you guys said, keep it intact to about to retire, or just keep it intact altogether.
Right. And the thing that I've always said is when Brock beat Taker, it was a moment. But it wasn't a moment because Brock beat Taker. It was a moment because the streak ended. Right?
Yeah.
It didn't, in my opinion, I don't think the win over Taker did anything for him character-wise or moment. I mean, it gave Paul plenty of fodder to talk about. But what to
But
me,
it did nothing for Lesnar and did nothing.
like to me, what really established Brock as the monster beast was when he dominated Cena at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
established Brock, because that introduced us to Suplex City, and he squashed Cena in, 2 minutes? In a SummerSlam main event?
Yeah.
That was what did it. Grandmaster says Brock was the right choice. I think if you're looking at the roster and you're going, okay, realistically, which guy could beat the Streak? I think Brock's your only choice. If you're looking at this from a realistic standpoint. I think the problem here is I think most of us would agree there was no reason for the Streak to end.
Nope. Especially with Taker was keep wrestling, there was no point.
Taker
If
wasn't,
Taker was then yeah, sure, but Taker was nowhere near done.
right. And I think that's a good point. Like, I wouldn't have minded if the Streak had continued on and Taker had lost at 36 to AJ Styles. Even though AJ isn't exactly an up-and-comer at this point, but that would have been Taker's last ride, pun intended. But we haven't heard from Lori. What is Lori's opinions on this? Because her opinions matter.
We're all inclusive here.
I about threw the TV off the stand.
Really?
Literally. Yes, I had to grab her.
Well, wait a minute. That was
You were young.
that was 12 years ago. How old would you have been, Lori?
Enough.
She was 5 at the point. 5.5.
I was gonna say, yeah, you were just a little thing, and you were that mad.
Oh, I was mad. I loved Taker, and I got it from my mom. I got my love for Taker from my mom. And
me, but I'm
you're not the big Taker fan.
no, mom's biggest thing period is Taker. So yeah.
So I was mad. I at the time didn't really like Brock because I was like, you showing up for maybe a couple times. Like, what are you doing here? Like, it made no sense for him to lose to him at the time. And I'm like, why are you ending the streak? Do you guys like lack brain cells here? Like, what's going on?
I feel like
she was for days.
That still makes me mad.
yeah, it's funny. Like, I was mad at 30. I was not mad a few years later when Roman won, because I think the win for Roman was overshadowed by the idea that we all thought Taker was done, because he left his gear in the ring, which ended up just being a fake out.
Yeah.
But I think, yeah.
And then he went and had surgery and whatnot, and then Vince called him. So what are you going to do this year? He's like, I think I'm done. And yeah, ended up not being, but
Right. And then he thought he was going to get a full match. And then he goes out there and does like a 2-minute squash on Cena.
yeah.
That was crazy. All right. Let's see. Let's go to our Zoom guests here. So, George, give me one of your most shocking professional wrestling moments. Doesn't have to be WWE. It can be anybody out there.
When Scott Hall showed up on WCW.
Beautiful. During a horrible match, by the way.
Yeah, that match was horrible, right? And I was like, "Oh my god!" I just remember, "Oh my god, it's Razor Ramon!" Before anyone knew he was going under his real name. What's he doing on WCW?
And what made that such a shocking moment was how they did it. Usually, when you bring in a guy, you bring him in with vignettes and interviews, and then you bring him in like through the entrance ramp, and you're like, hey, everybody, it's so-and-so. He's here now. This was like he's just walking through the crowd and then just jumps over the barricade. It felt like a legitimate, like, hey, WWE is here on WCW.
Yeah, and it was mid-match, and he just went in the ring, and everyone in the ring they weren't informed, so they're like, "What the f is going on?" And they I guess they were told through the earpiece from the referee, but that get out and don't attack them. But like that they were both very confused and not very happy. It sold it everything, and then you get on the mic and. Oh man, it was beautiful.
And I remember as a kid, I wasn't really a kid. I was in high school at the time. But I remember as I'm hearing about this, but when I went to high school, I kind of lost track of a lot of professional wrestling stuff because I was not a big new generation guy outside of your two top guys or three top guys. So Taker, I always liked Taker. I like Brett. I like Shawn. And really, there was nobody else around them that I cared about. So like, I had a tough time with the horrible characters and storylines of that time.
I was a Diesel fan. I was a Diesel
Were
fan.
you? I don't know. I thought he was kind of cool, but
Shawn, right? So he was Shawn's bodyguard. So
Right.
that's how I introduced to him. Like he was Shawn's bodyguard, and then he, Shawn turned on him, and he went, face, and Shawn went heel, and we had that whole thing going. And so like, that's how I got introduced to Diesel, and I was always a Razor Ramon fan. So I had those two going for me. So like, again, when they both showed up on WCW, again Scott, and then later, Kevin, it was like, whoa.
right. And that was actually to credit to the NWO. I was not a WCW guy. I was. I've told my story a lot. I'm not going to go into it deeply here, but I was always WWE. I don't want to. No, WCW is the competition. I'm WWE guy. So when all of this was happening, and people are telling me what's going on, it got me back into pro wrestling. But it was always kind of interesting that it was WCW that was the one that got me back into pro wrestling. And then when the NWO happened with Hogan, I was like, what? Like, are you kidding me right now? Like, I was in high school playing football just going, what is happening here? So, Grandmaster's talking about in the chat here the decision by McMahon and stuff to end the streak and verifying what I said. Vince is the one that made the decision. Mark basically went with it because that's how he does. And the funny part is when you read what Grandmaster is writing, it still kind of confirms to me that just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something. McMahon made the decision to end the streak on the day of the show, believing it doubtful that Taker would have any more matches. I don't know if that's a reason to do that, to end it, just because you're not sure. And then knowing Taker, I think McMahon would know Taker well enough to know that Taker is going to go until he breaks and falls apart.
Yeah.
Undertaker confirmed the decision to end the streak was made the day of the show, stating he was still going over as of that morning, which, yes, I do remember that. He confirmed McMahon's opinion of there being no other viable candidate. If there's no other viable candidate in that moment, but it's still not the right decision, why make that decision?
Yeah.
That's kind of my point. Like, because Brock can beat Taker, does it mean Brock should beat Taker?
Yeah.
Because just a couple years later, there was a better option, but they still fumbled it in a sense because when Roman beat Taker a couple years later, I thought it was, okay, now we can send Roman on a rocket to the top here. And the next night on Raw, he comes out and he tells everyone that this is his yard now. And that's all he did, and he left. And I thought, are we getting a heel Roman? And it didn't happen yet. It wasn't till the tribal chief thing, even a couple years after that. So I felt like the Roman thing was kind of fumbled, which is why it doesn't feel like that win was really all that worth it either. And plus, it was already watered down by the fact that Brock had beaten him. But yeah, I've never really liked the argument that anybody gives where, well, there was nobody else at the time. Well, if there was nobody else at the time, then you're just going to have to wait.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm not going to quit my job and go work, for minimum wage somewhere else because I don't want to work at my job, but there's nowhere else to go. Right? Like, I'm not going to make a stupid decision like that. But that's my own personal opinion. I
in your opinion.
Thank you. Thank you, George. My dear close personal friend. I'm the mean gene of things. All right. All right, Chris. let's get one of your most shocking professional wrestling moments.
Yeah. So I thought about this. I compiled a list of like 10 moments. I was excited to see a lot of them made your little highlight reel at the video at the beginning of the show. I was like, oh, I called that one. I called that one.
Right.
But the one I picked not only wasn't on that highlight reel, but hasn't been talked about yet. And I actually think that Vince's face sold it all too. Would be the moment that Vince came out to announce that he had just bought WCW, but then Shane came out on Monday Night Nitro to come out and say that the contract does say McMahon,
Right.
but it in fact says Shane McMahon. And then Vince's face at that. I mean, I remember just being completely mind blown at the way the trajectory of the business was going to go at that
Right.
point, and it did in fact change the whole business. So
Not exactly for the better for a while.
right, in some people's
But-
cases,
yeah,
exactly.
But because all the big names didn't really come over right away.
Right.
And then they fumbled Dallas. But I think Booker was the only guy that I really got into from the get-go. His feud with
Right.
Stone Cold was really, really fun.
Oh, Stone Cold and Booker in the grocery store was one of the greatest moments ever.
Yeah. Yep. Just the idea that Vince bought WCW in and of itself is a shocking moment. You know, like, I don't know if any of us, again, like, this is before the internet was exploding with information left and
Right.
right. So the idea to any of us that Vince would ever own WCW just felt like there's just no way. That's a Ted Turner thing. Why would Ted Turner let that go? And then they'd been talking, I think, for weeks that Bischoff was buying it. On air, they were talking about Bischoff buying WCW. So it was like when Vince all of a sudden shows up on Nitro from the Raw set, you're like, what? What just happened? And then, like, as details come out, it just gets worse because you're like, he bought it for what? Like, he essentially could have reached into his wallet and just been like, here.
And I was a cable channel flipper back then too, so to be able to flip over to Nitro and then flip over to Raw and see both sides of that segment was really cool.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, that was such a moment. And the Shane McMahon thing, which of course fed into their WrestleMania 17 match. And I think that WrestleMania 17 match needed that more than it needed the Linda stuff and the Trish Stratus stuff. I think without that purchase of WCW and the storyline of Shane taking it and from under Vince's nose, I don't think that match means nearly as much.
Right.
It was a fun match between two guys that, you know, were okay, you know, at best. But yeah, that really made that. George, what are your thoughts on the whole WCW WWE deal?
I was in shock. My jaw hit the floor, right? Because again, like you said, the internet was just starting to become a thing, so nobody knew. And you just turned on and then on Nitro and then Vince is there. It's like, what? And then it just, the whole show blew up. I was dumbfounded.
Yeah.
But I do feel like what you said is they dropped the ball with a lot of talent that came over. Like, you didn't get Sting, you didn't get DDP right away, you didn't get you got Booker T, but like, I don't know, it just felt like all the big names. You didn't get Scott Hall, you didn't get Kevin Nash, you didn't get Hogan right away.
Right.
So the fact that you didn't get the main event guys, you got like the mid card and lower card guys, and that's what really hurt. I feel like hurt that invasion angle that they were doing and all that stuff. If they had the top guys versus the top guys, oh my god, that would have been it would have been beautiful. But we never ended up getting that, unfortunately. And like I said, they dropped the ball with a lot of people there, even when they did come over, because our guys have to be better than yours. That's fine, but you don't have to make them look like complete whatever. They can
Chumps.
still look good if you still get the win over them, right? So, yeah.
I mean, the thing about the main event guys that where the reason they didn't come over is they were given guaranteed contracts by Time Warner, and so they were allowed to collect $1 million paychecks to sit at home, and do nothing.
Yeah, I would do it too.
And even if WWE matched, I don't think they were going to pay them more than what Time Warner was giving them. But even if WWE went, okay, let's say you're making $1 million a year, we'll give you $1 million a year, but then you got to come over here and work 300 days. Like, yeah, I agree with you. If I were Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Hulk Hogan, Goldberg, I'd be like, I'm good. I'm going to take a vacation. I'm going to get paid. Yeah. And then I'll train when the time is up, and then I'll sign over with you guys by WrestleMania 18. So, yeah, it was a crazy time in pro wrestling. And then, yeah, like you said, like the DDP did come over, and I remember when they showed that he was the only guy that made me really care about WCW because of my college roommate, and that's how I got my start in all this Dallas stuff. But when he came over and he was shown to be the stalker for the Undertaker, I had the same reaction that DDP did, where I was like, wait a minute, he's stalking Sarah, and his wife is Kimberly. Yeah, that didn't make any sense to me. None of it. I mean, it's just like it felt like not only Vince punching down at WCW, it also felt like Vince punching down at the fans for thinking we don't know who Dallas really is. Right?
Like just look. Well, just to be honest, okay, look at the women that Taker is married, and look at the women that Dallas is married. There's no comparison. Okay. Like none.
Grandmaster says Jason Harvey and Eric Bischoff buying it was never really happening. Actually, it was. It was actually a lot closer than a lot of people think. The problem was, Grandmaster, when it comes to the purchase of WCW, was Eric and his team of investors that was going to buy WCW. They were buying WCW with the intent that they were going to still have airtime on the Turner networks. And Turner said, you can buy WCW, you can buy all this stuff, but you're not going to get the airtime. That took WCW's value from here to here. And it now was no longer worth the investment. And there's been a lot of talk about inside stuff going on that gave WWE the advantage anyway. And I think at the time, Turner was just at the Time Warner AOL thing. They were just looking to unload it. And so Vince probably could have offered them $2 and they would have taken it just to get it off their backs. And, But yeah, from what I've understood about the Eric Bischoff investors, they were much closer than a lot of people thought. They thought they had it in the bag, and then it was the rug was kind of pulled out from under them because they were denied the television time, and WWE kind of came in under the radar and allowed Time Warner AOL to just unload it like they wanted to do anyway, which they've been wanting to do for a very long time. The only guy within that company that wanted it was Ted Turner. He was the only guy that wanted it. They wanted to unload WCW even when it was highly profitable. They wanted to unload WCW for a long time because nobody there, they all thought wrestling was beneath them. They did. And I mean, and you got to remember the stigma of pro wrestling for many, many years was it was like a low IQ fake sport. That's just, I mean, that's how all these executives looked at it. They didn't look at it as an entertainment brand in the same way that Vince did. Vince did himself a service by coming out and saying we're sports entertainment. It allowed you to have a different frame of mind about what pro wrestling was, whereas WCW was still we're a real sport. We're this. It was a different presentation, and whereas a lot of fans appreciate that, the executives and the people that were putting them on television were kind of like, we don't get it. Like, why are people watching this? But it's because we love it.
Yeah.
So keep it on. Nowadays, it's like everyone's competing for it. ESPN, Netflix, NBC, they all want a piece of the pro wrestling pie. Warner Brothers, but Warner Brothers needs help. I could go on. I could do a whole show just about Warner Brothers.
True.
All right. Let's see. Oh, Lori left.
She'll be right back. She's getting Jen's phone for me.
All right. So when Lori gets back, she's gonna pick one. I'm gonna do one now.
Okay.
It's back to me, and I'm going with Lex Luger showing up on the very first debut edition of WCW Monday Nitro. As shocking as Scott Hall showing up was, Lex Luger, that was not just shocking to the audience, it was shocking to everyone.
Oh yeah.
From what I understand, Lex did a house show and a TV taping just a day or two before, and then just shows up on Nitro the next day. It was, honestly, that was the shot that started the Monday Night War. You could throw Nitro out there. That's competition. But yes, the Mall of America. And Grandmaster was there. Grandmaster Styles was at the show at Mall of America. Where Hogan, it's funny because I remember a few things about that show. Number one, I remember Sting versus Flair, which is where Lex Luger walks out. I couldn't tell you anything else about the match or anything like that. But then I also remember Hogan in front of some Hogan restaurant plugging the food at the Mall of America. It was the most ridiculous thing ever. But it was a cool setting. I actually thought the Mall of America was such a unique and cool setting for the first ever Monday Nitro. I mean, it definitely made that memorable. But Chris, what do you think about that? The first Nitro and the shot fired, which was Lex Luger, who apparently also had a handshake deal with Vince to stay, and then ends up signing for about 10% of his old contract with WCW.
That was honestly before me. I don't remember that moment at all.
Oh, that's right, because it was the Hogan turn is what really brought you in.
It was literally the NWO inception. Inception would be the right word. It was the NWO creation that got me into pro wrestling in general. So that was a little bit before me.
Which I want to say maybe a year later, something like that. And but yeah, so Chris, that's some pro wrestling history you're gonna have to go back and watch.
For sure.
Yeah, it's.
I remember Lex being in the NWO Red and Black in WCW, the Wolfpack, and stuff. Yeah, that was my childhood right there. But yeah, no, the early Raw days and the early Nitro days was a little bit before me.
Well, here's some fun fact for you here, Chris. So Lex Luger kind of made a name for himself in the NWA, Crockett Promotions, then leading into Ted Turner's WCW. And Lex Luger was a name. He was a player. And then WWE got him. He became over as the Narcissist.
WWF.
Yeah, WBF, the World Bodybuilding Federation, and that did not work. And Lex had been in a horrible accident. It was legit horrible motorcycle accident. I think his whole arm was rebuilt. They thought he was going to lose it. And then out of nowhere, he goes from being the narcissist to this American hero because they're trying to find the next Hulk Hogan. So Lex slams Yokozuna on top of a battleship for this big 4th of July event, and thus the all-American Lex Luger is born. He gets in a tour bus and goes around the country in the Lex Express. They went all out trying to make Lex the next Hogan, but it doesn't work. He beats Yokozuna by like disqualification, or does he lose? I don't remember, but he doesn't win the title at SummerSlam. But they treat the ending of SummerSlam as if he won the title. It was the most ridiculous thing ever. And then he double main events WrestleMania 10, but Brett's the guy that wins because Brett was the right choice. And then he just sort of trickles down from there. Lex Luger. I thought Lex Luger was a Superman villain. That's Lex Luthor. Luthor.
Not far off.
No, you're not.
Lex-
You're not far
yeah.
off. For someone that doesn't know.
I think when I first heard of
you're-
him,
you're
I would have
correct.
said that. But
WWF September 3rd, Lex Luger and HBK versus Owen Hart and Yokozuna. So that's Grandmaster saying from the internet. The internets. But yeah, Lex. So that's so Lex was kind of trickling down, but I think he was making good money from WWE, but I think it was Sting that talked to Eric Bischoff and said, "Hey, Lex is a different guy. He's a changed guy." Not really, and Bischoff didn't like Luger and offered him like a fraction of his contract, and he took it. And thus the immortal moment of Lex showing up on the first Nitro was born. So yes, so it was the night before WWF September 3rd, Lex Luger and HBK versus Owen Hart and Yokozuna, and then WCW, the first Nitro was September 4th. And actually he comes out first during and just makes an appearance during the Ric Flair Sting matchup. That's where they were like, what's he doing here? Right? That's that moment. And then at the end of the show, yes, he then comes out and confronts Hulk Hogan after Hulk Hogan has his, of course, main event of First Nitro of Hogan versus Big Bubba, a.k.a. the Big Boss Man.
Big Bubba.
So, all right. Yes, he did give him a much lower contract than what Vince offered, which always kind of begs the question, why did Lex leave? The only thing I can think of is that Lex felt there was more opportunity long-term with WCW, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it came down to a guaranteed contract versus a handshake deal, having nothing.
Right. Well, and dates. I know WCW, they worked a lot less. They did a lot less house shows. And, yeah, to your point, yeah, WWE didn't do guaranteed contracts back then.
Nope.
So, all right, Lori, you've returned, which means I want to hear from you. I want to know what give us one of your most shocking WWE moments.
Wrestling in general.
Mine will always be when Daniel Bryan won the world title. That will always be my most shocking moment ever. I remember my reaction still to this day. I started jumping around my whole house like a crazy lunatic person. That was my favorite moment of all time.
So that was shocking to you, which means, so we're going back to WrestleMania 30, so when you were 5. So that means that going into that match, you didn't think Daniel was actually going to win?
I didn't, because of all the cheap stuff they were doing. I genuinely didn't think he was going to win.
All right. I mean, I know that the original intention was Batista.
Keep in mind, he also fought, Triple H earlier tonight, too, didn't he? So,
Right. Yeah, he had to earn his spot in the title match. And I know, like I said, the original intent was Batista.
She thought because he fought in the first match and he was going to be tired going to the second one, and then they had been cheating him, that they were going to do something like that to him at the end. So when he actually won, her face hit the floor.
Right. Grandmaster, for your comment there at the last one, we're not going to mention that moment as a shocking moment. I just don't want to. I don't know. I feel like if we talk about it as a shock, it was a very shocking moment, but I kind of want to steer away from
It's
that.
not shocking in the way we're on topic right now.
Yeah,
It's a different shocking.
I'm trying to think of shocking more as entertainment value. So just a heads up, where if it gets brought up, I will just politely shoot it down. But yeah,
It is
so,
addressed.
But Daniel Bryan, I will say, just the rise of the Yes Movement to me was a shock. Like when it first started, I was like, okay, what are we doing? Like it felt like the what chant, and I hated the what chant. Always hate when Austin did it at the beginning, it was funny. When the fans did it, I hated it. I've always hated when the fans did. I've been in crowds where the fans did it, and I'm sitting there just going, shut up. Like, just let the guy talk. Just stop it. You're not funny.
Get some help.
Yeah, stop it. Get some help. Oh man. But yeah, the Yes, I wasn't in on the Yes thing right away. It took a while for that. I think it took the no for me to get into the Yes, if that makes sense. When Daniel Bryan started doing no and the fans would chant yes opposite him, that's when I kind of got the Yes chant, and I went, okay, I get it. And then when the moment where I said, okay, this is a big deal, was Daniel turning on Bray Wyatt, and you see an entire arena full of people doing the Yes chant in unison, and it was the most beautiful moment back then, and it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. So I mean, just the rise of Daniel Bryan, I think, to me is shocking, because I think that's the kind of guy that Vince would look at, and legitimately, I think there was reality in that storyline. I think Vince was like, he's B+ at best, right? He will never be my world champ. But I also think that begs to mention this one. How about this, guys? Where would this rank on your list? What about Mankind defeating The Rock on Monday Night Raw for the WWE title? I mean, none of us, I don't think anybody ever thought Mick Foley was going to be a world champion.
I mean, WCW kind of spoiled it for me, so you know.
Well, that was where I was going to go next. It was like, what about the moment, the other shocking moment, which is WCW gave away the ending because Raw was taped, and then something like 500,000 people all changed the channel.
Yeah.
Like, what a bonehead move. A silence.
Silence.
Nobody liked what I said. They were like, nope, not going there.
I was one of the people who changed the channel. Like I wanted to see it because I was such a Mankind fan at the time. So seeing him finally get the title was like, what? I got to see this.
Yeah, Chris, you would have been a fan at this point because that was post NWO. What was your reaction? Did you know Mick was going to win that night, or what was your reaction when Mick won the title from The Rock on Raw that night?
And see, this, as I mentioned, the Attitude Monday Night Wars era was my childhood, my entire childhood.
Yep.
So I was 12, 13, action figures, posters, video games in 64. Like I was just nose deep into the lore at this point. But so Mick was my guy. Mick was that underdog guy. He was the Daniel Bryan and the Sami Zayn of that era. And I, on my list of shocking moments, two of the moments that I had were Mick moments, and I actually until right now didn't remember that moment of Mick winning. But yeah, I can only imagine that I was probably jumping for joy and go Mick, and just, finally, that type of thing, because he had been fighting for the world title for a long time. So when they finally gave it to him was a good moment.
Yep. It was a really cool thing. Like, yeah, DX was out there. The whole corporation was out there. Then Austin comes out, takes out The Rock. It was a lot of fun. It was just a great. It was.
That'll put some butts in the seats.
What's that?
I said that'll put some butts in the seats.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. All right, Seth.
Yes.
Your next shocking moment.
Let's go with Montreal Screwjob, Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels.
Absolutely shocking moment.
That's
Because again,
that's a pretty good one
What
on this
makes
list.
this one shocking more than anything is this is again pre-internet.
Yeah.
This is
Right.
we didn't know all the behind the scenes stuff. We didn't know that Brett was leaving. We didn't know what that there were plans here and plans there. Like, and even to this day, people are like, there's a lot of people that are like, I don't know what to think. Like,
Yeah.
So-
like
Laura doesn't know about the Montreal Screwjob. Like she's heard about it a little bit, but she doesn't know details. Would you mind, Pat, filling her in?
Sure. So Lori, in 1997, what 97 was the Survivor Series where the Montreal Screwjob happened.
Yeah.
And so Vince, prior to that, had signed Brett to like the biggest contract he'd ever signed a wrestler to, and then decided he couldn't honor it because WWE was getting their butt kicked every week by WCW. So he legitimately helps Brett orchestrate a good, solid contract with WCW. And Brett signs with WCW. He doesn't want to, but he does. Vince McMahon wants Brett to drop the title at Survivor Series before leaving because he doesn't want another Alundra Blaze Medusa moment where he disparages the belt by bringing it on, jumping in the trash, whatever it is. So he asked Brett to drop the title to Shawn Michaels. Well, Brett and Shawn, they're not getting along, to put it mildly. So Brett says, no, not doing it. I'm not dropping the title to Shawn. We'll do some kind of schmoz at Survivor Series, and I'll relinquish the title on Raw. Vince doesn't like that, but he's going along with it, and it's Triple H and Shawn Michaels come into the equation, and it's Triple H that says if he doesn't want to do business, we'll do business for him. The plan begins to form, and they screw Brett out of the title by at some point in the match, Shawn Michaels puts Brett in the sharpshooter. And what's really funny is he starts to put it on wrong. Brett corrects him. You can see Brett correcting him. And Michaels gets the sharpshooter on. Vince tells them to call for the bell. The ref calls for the bell. Shawn wins. Brett's no longer the champion. They give the belt to Shawn, rush him out. Brett destroys the ringside area in frustration, spits on Vince, and then punches him in the backstage area, knocks Vince out. It's a whole deal. Now, what makes this it was shocking in and of itself, but the stuff around it has turned this into the legend that is the Montreal Screwjob. Why it is still talked about to this day, because you've got like all these people that were involved. There was more people that knew about it than we knew years ago. Briscoe knew about it. Vince, Triple H, Shawn,
Earl
Hebner. Like, there's all these people that got involved, and all of them seem to have slightly different recollections of what happened. There's been a shift in who was right and who was wrong. It used to be where like 99% of the population thought that Brett was legitimately screwed and Vince was evil. And I'd honestly say it's probably closer to 60-40, 50-50 even, that Vince did what he needed to do. Vince did what he thought was right, whether it was right or wrong. He did what he thought he needed to do to protect his brand, to protect his thing. And Brett should have done the right thing on the way out.
Yeah, and to one other thing too here, Lori, that what you didn't mention is while Sean has Brett in the sharpshooter, as Vince is calling for the ring guy to ring the bell. Brett was in the middle of countering the sharpshooter. He had Sean's leg and was pulling him up to put him in the sharpshooter. He literally was in the process. They both were flat on their stomachs at this point. When the bell rings, both of them were looking like, what the F?
Right.
But Sean knew it was coming. Brett didn't, but Sean played it off. And this was the beginning of the Mr. McMahon gimmick being born. This is what made McMahon gimmick.
Yeah, because he did an interview shortly after where he said that Brett screwed Brett. And the Brett screwed Brett line and the whole interview in and of itself, it made Vince look really bad. And he legitimately thought this interview was going to get fans on his side to understand that it was Brett who did wrong, but it had the reverse effect, which is a good thing because, like he said, without that, there is no Mr. McMahon. And Austin Mr. McMahon may not happen, and that was maybe one of, if not the greatest rivalry in professional wrestling.
No, it is.
I mean, it was so good. And there's a lot of misconceptions about the Montreal Screwjob too, which is absolutely shocking, no matter how you look at it. But the misconception that a lot of people think is that Brett refused to drop the belt to Sean because they were in Canada. And it's kind of it's an understandable misconception, but it is one nonetheless. It had less to do with Montreal or wherever they were in Canada and more to do with Sean. Sean had disrespected Brett, he felt, and Brett basically was like, I'm not doing the favors for him. It was more of a personal thing against Sean than it was where they were, right? Because I think that's kind of ridiculous to say, like, I'm not dropping the belt because I'm in Canada. That's a whole country you're not allowed to drop the belt in. I've never seen Hulk Hogan be like, I can't drop the belt. Well, he'll say I'm not dropping the belt, but it's not because he's in America. No, I'm a real American. I can't drop the belt in America. No. So, all right. Now, Seth, are you now completely filled in too on what the Montreal Screwjob was? Because I could tell when you read it, you didn't really know what you were talking about.
I was reading a little bit into it from what I was given by the source, but it's pretty much just telling me that it's a really intense betrayal. That's what I got from what the thing gave me, so I kind of just had to listen in.
Yeah, good. This is Pro Wrestling History Lesson 101.
Yeah.
And this is what my wife married. She married a man that is full of what I like to call useless information. This information does nobody any good.
Well, it does good for me.
Except for this show. Like I can finally talk about all this stuff on the show where it matters. Like outside, fun fact here about Positively Pat Sims people. George, you might appreciate this. So, in the early 2000s, I believe it was, WWE came out with a trivia book that was released in stores. I went out and I bought the trivia book. I then sent it back with corrections.
Genius.
Yes, and I don't think they ever acknowledged me. But they did in fact correct the trivia book. They did in fact make corrections to their trivia book. I also have there's a lot of times when commentators make mistakes that make my skin crawl. At one point during one of the WrestleManias, I believe it's WrestleMania 13, Jim Ross says that The Undertaker has not lost at WrestleMania since defeating Jake the Snake Roberts. And I'm like, no! It was Jimmy Superfly Snuka. That was the first victory at WrestleMania 7, not Jake
What a
at 8.
name.
Yeah. Like, how dare you, Jim Ross? Gorilla Monsoon would have gotten it right.
Gorilla Monsoon.
All right. George Fenmore, give me a shocking professional wrestling moment.
Ravishing Rick Rude showing up on Raw and Nitro at the same time.
Man, was the Monday Night Wars fun. Holy smokes.
So Ravishing Rick Rude was on a pre-recorded episode of Raw,
Right.
and which aired on that day, and he had a mustache, and he was with D-Generation X because he was one of the founding members of DX.
Yep.
That's never talked about anymore. And when he was, and then he showed up on live on Nitro with the mustache shaven and part of the NWO.
Man. When you really stop and talk about all the stuff we've mentioned about Nitro and like you think about the Bret Hart situation, how could Vince not have been ultra paranoid? You've got Lex the night before is making you think he's part of your team, and then he shows up on Nitro. Scott Hall shows up on Nitro. You've got Alundra Blaze shows up and drops the women's title in the trash. Ratings are tanking. How is Vince not the most paranoid owner? He must have finally understood what all those independent promotions felt like when he was going national.
Oh, I was WCW before WWF at the time, and because of all that excitement that was happening on Nitro, they had to create DX just to compete. I don't think if they hadn't done the Mr. McMahon versus Stone Cold and then DX's creation, I don't think WWF would have lasted.
Well, yeah, because WWF, the thing is they could get away with more than WCW. WCW had what the standards and practices, and so they were highly watched over and regulated, so they could only go so far with the edgy content, whereas you had WWE that was bringing in Val Venus, the former the in storyline former porn star. You had Me Choppy Yo Pee Pee storyline. That was. I remember that. Like, I remember the cliffhanger that was Val.
Oh, man. Well, man, and then you had to wait till, like, the middle of the show to find out. That should have opened the show, man.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so, Seth, we may have talked about something on the show before. Lori, do you know about this? Do you know what we're talking about? Okay, so Val Venus and it was the Japanese. Was it Kai and Tai? So, like, he was feuding with them because here's the in-joke, right? The white male porn star who brags about the size of his member is feuding with the Japanese guys who very stereotypically are not big member people. And so that jealousy leads to them and a cliffhanger where they're with a samurai sword. As racist as we can get with this whole thing. With a samurai sword in hand, they make you believe that he's sitting there with his thing on a chopping block and they're about to cut it off. That's the cliffhanger. And then, like George said,
held down naked, and they had him held down, and they had a sword like this.
Yeah.
And when it goes black, like when he's about here, and you see screen guard rushing in there, and the screen goes black, and you hear all this commotion, and it goes off the air.
Yeah. And he had to wait a week to figure out what happened.
Yeah, and the thing was that like Val was also like supposedly like dating like what was it, somebody's sister or daughter or something like
that.
Yeah, so like that's the whole thing came out of it. And then Val, and then they ended up bringing like what Mr. Lorena Bobbitt's husband on the air for the next show.
Well, do you remember like the official reason why it didn't happen? They actually went. I can't make this up, guys, because I'm not this. I mean, I'm stupid, but I'm not this stupid. So it's because Val says in a thing. It's because it was cold.
What?
Essentially, he was saved by shrinkage. It's like that's the official. I mean, thank you, Vince Russo, for the gold that was this. I mean, God,
Man.
it was horrible.
No
like,
one.
I
Can't
love
make
the
anything like
I
this
love
up. This
the
is
Attitude Era. and it
Peak.
really reignited my passion in WWE. But it is not.
Perfection.
You go back and watch it, and you're like, what? What did I see in this slop? There's some horrible stuff from the Attitude Era, just like, oh, bottom of the barrel. But WWE, that's what got them where they are today. That's why WWE 2K26 is once again revisiting that whole era. 2K26 is leaning heavy into the Monday Night Wars because it'll sell. I'm kind of guessing 2K25 did not do that well. I don't think I had 2K24. And 2K24 was really good because it had the Wrestlemania, the 40 years of Wrestlemania, and I still have that one. I don't think 2K25 did very well, and I think 2K26 is leaning into it because they know that people buy nostalgia.
Yeah, I think that's true. 2K, I own both. 24, 25 had a few more features in it, like in the My GM mode, they evolved a few things, but
Yeah.
the island was not that great. The island relevancy and stuff, just a lot of the things 25 did wasn't as good.
Here's a shocking moment. It's taken till 2026 for a WWE 2K game to be PS5 exclusive. To be a next-gen system exclusive. All the other ones have been available for PS4, which is why the graphics have never really improved over like the last since probably
I'm
the
excited
2022.
to see the graphic change.
Yeah, it does look it doesn't look like heads above, but it does look noticeably better.
Resolution and detail
Yes.
looks a lot more. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what 26 looks like. Not sure if I'll be. I don't know. Because gosh, they're so expensive. Like the base game is so limiting nowadays, and even that is like $60-$70. And if you want the whole experience, it's almost $200 for that. That's for all the content, and even then, here's what ticked me off. Even 24 did this. You pay ungodly amount of money for one game, and there's still content you have to unlock.
Yeah.
If I give you
for real money.
Yeah, if I give you $200, I want every darn thing in the game.
Right.
I think even after the deluxe version, there's still certain things you have to buy.
Well,
Yeah.
but there's stuff that you can't even buy. There's stuff you have you have to play. You have to get through certain sections to unlock.
Yeah.
Which is
All of
kind of understandable. It means you have to play the game.
Yeah, but I'm giving you $200.
But yeah, I think that's too much. That's too much.
Playing the game for unlockables was how it was to begin with, without giving them the 200.
Right. Right.
If you playing the game to unlock stuff, I'm okay with it because you'll be able to get
Right.
it by playing forever. But having to keep paying and paying and paying and
Right.
paying, that's what I hate. I hate
I
that.
even like because I was a big Bray Wyatt guy. I love the Fiend, and 2K24 had a late edition DLC, which was the Fiend, and it even had the one he was going to use that had like that creepy face on the back, and I got that. And I was like, and I'm still like, oh gosh, there's so much stuff that I still have to unlock. Arenas, characters, and I'm like, like that's why like I have trouble getting into video games nowadays. Like our game night show that we do on Tuesdays is mostly older stuff, and it'll be some mobile games because it's just like I'm just
easier to get in and out.
Yeah, I'm just not a big fan of today's video game landscape. It's a money pit.
Yeah.
Like
There's also like the complete opposite though, where like you could pay little for a game, but then use a bunch of codes to unlock everything early, and it's like, but then you're not as happy when you actually unlock the things.
Right.
Yeah.
Or how about like Rocket League? We spent a good amount of money on Rocket League.
Oh yeah.
And then Rocket League changed their whole format. Right? Because didn't they go to like a seasons kind of deal, and you could unlock everything we
Well, they
paid
went
for?
well, kind of. They went when Rocket League went to a seasons thing. It became a free game, and they gave us a bunch of stuff for free since they
Right.
did that. So they in my opinion, they did make up for what they did,
Oh,
but it was a
because
bit
we
weird.
paid for all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm obviously showing my age here, 40, 45, and like Seth, my son, has no problem. I don't know about now, but I know like before, no problem spending your hard-earned money on skins for Fortnite and stuff. And I'm sitting here going, that's a digital thing. Like, you don't own that. When the game goes away, you've lost everything you've paid for.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I like having something in hand, like this stuff behind me. Like, I'm more of an in-hand kind of guy. Like, it's such a weird
That's
time.
why I stopped buying skins. I just use the money the game gives me for free.
Well, and see, like that's perfect.
Which that's the one thing that Rocket League doesn't do is you can't get the like in-game currency for free from the passes. You have to have the first pass first.
Right. Hey, I got an idea.
Free games with no ads.
Yay! No, hear me out.
Dang it.
Hear me out. All right? Would there not be ample money to be made if WWE and 2K adopted a Fortnite style game where give them the game. Say, here's the game. But what you can do is we'll keep it up to date.
Yeah.
Instead of doing spending millions of dollars every year on a new game, we'll keep the game up to date. We'll make sure the characters are up to date, this kind of thing. And you can just purchase what you want.
Yeah.
Like,
I like that.
Like, it kind of makes sense to me to do that. We have the capability to do that. We don't have to release a new game. I feel the same way about baseball, football games. Like, I'm done. I love sports games. I don't want to buy a new game.
Yeah.
I'm just going to play what I got unless you can
Make
really
the
blow me
WWE
away.
universe your own.
Right.
Yeah.
That exactly. And I feel, like I said, I feel the same way. Why can't we just make one baseball game that you just update the rosters as needed, or give us the control? Either we can update them to be live rosters, or we can make them our own.
Yeah. I think the reason
this
why
has turned into an anti-video game show.
Yeah. I think the reason why video games like Fortnite do so well, though, is because not only are they like not just the seasonal pass thing, but also it's never had to update to a new game.
Right.
Because it's been one consecutive game over time, and then when the graphics get better, they just update the graphics, and it's a long update, but it does give you all the graphics that you need, and it doesn't need a new download. It's just one update, that's it, and then you're good.
I do think that the style even of Fortnite would work across the board because it's not a realistic look.
Yeah.
It's a slightly cartoonish look, which
still
is cool.
gives you that feel of realistic.
Yeah.
Like they have a bunch of actual, like they even have John Cena in there, and I would take that John Cena over like a realistic GTA 6 type of like realism. Like it gets the point across, and the thing is, it's also they're not trying to go for all the super in-depth details.
We got to something Seth can talk about.
Yeah, it gets into those. It doesn't get those in-depth details, so it's actually smoother than trying to be realistic. So it feels better than realistic.
Right. And the only problem I have with that whole concept is the killer clowns thing, which is it has to be online. I like being able to just play.
Yeah.
Right. Like the Killer Clowns game. If it had just allowed you to play without having to go online, I'd be playing it to this day. I love Killer Clowns.
Well, they do. Well, I would say they have a story mode where you can, but they did make that online a little bit.
Yeah,
ago. Originally it wasn't online, and you could do that. I think there's still a way you can play offline on the story mode, but I'm not sure.
No, it's we tried. It's like nobody's on it. Like nobody's playing it, and I think that's I like Splatoon 2 was that way. It had to be. You had to play against people online.
But that one had a whole
So-
story mode where it should be able to play offline.
Yeah.
That one makes sense because that one's not multiplayer.
All right, let's get back to our topic.
Yeah.
I don't even know how we got on it. It's usually my fault.
Well, because you went to WWE 2K
Yeah.
from one of the insane events, and then we got to
Oh, because
then,
of the
then we got
Attitude Era.
to the Attitude Era. Yeah.
All
Then
right.
we went through and
So I think
made it here.
I believe it's Chris's turn because I think George, you brought up the last one. Yep. All right. So Chris, give me a shocking moment. The chat has gone silent.
They don't know how to interject.
They don't.
Well, a couple of the ones I listed have now been said, like the Montreal Screwjob and whatnot. But I think another really good one that I mean won't be like shocking in terms of storyline or creative, but just a shocking moment was when Edge speared Jeff Hardy off the top of the ladder match at that. I think it was the first TLC. I can't remember if it was the first or the second one, but that moment where he speared him in midair.
That was the second
I
one.
thought-
That was
the second one,
That
yeah,
was the
yeah. I thought
WrestleMania
that was-
17.
Right. I thought that was one of the most insane professional wrestling moments in history.
Yeah, that it was that one, or even WrestleMania 16 when Jeff jumped off the top of the ladder through Bubba and the tables.
And that was the first one.
Yeah, that was the first one here, right down the street from me in Anaheim. At the time, it was the Arrowhead Pond. Now it's the Honda Center. 17 was in the big stadium, though. That was cool out in Texas. But
16 was the first WrestleMania that we ordered on pay-per-view. That was my first one.
Oh, I feel sorry for you.
I don't know. I like the Fatal 4-Way McMahon main event.
Yeah, the main event was fun, but the event overall, not a good one to start with. Like, just
Right.
I mean, the opener was
Definitely better ones.
Yeah, I mean, it was Big Boss Man and whatever the dude's name was versus D'Lo Brown and Godfather, and Ice-T wrapped them to the ring, and it was bad. And pimpin' ain't easy, man.
Yeah, I remember that.
I mean, you had the match between Terry and the Cat, where all they had to do was throw him out of the ring. Didn't have to go over the top. Just throw him out of the ring. It's just bad. That was the only singles match, by the way. Everything else was multi-man matches. It was crazy. Vince is to blame for all of this, especially Brett not getting what was promised to him and the send-off he never got. I mean, like I said, like we're back to the screw job a little bit, but I think there's room to see both sides here. I get Brett being mad. I get Brett being pissed if he's told one thing and then something else happens. I think at the other end of the spectrum is if I'm the boss of a company and I said, this is how I want something done, and you're fighting me on it the whole time, you're going to share some of that blame, right? And yeah, it still doesn't change the fact that Vince was underhanded in saying, okay, this is what we're going to do, and then changing his mind and screwing him out of it. But it doesn't mean that Brett is this saint that doesn't share. And Brett, I love Brett, but at the same time, I can't with Brett anymore. He seems to keep going on this woe is me tour and the bashing on everyone. Like, it's just, nobody's good enough for Brett. He doesn't like modern wrestling. He still hates Bill Goldberg. He holds grudges like nobody I've ever seen before. And that, to me, I remember that's a shocking moment when I found out that Brett was not the kind of optimistic, like the early 90s Brett that I remember. But yeah, no, getting back to what Chris said, that spear, those TLC matches just in general, I mean, those were epic matches. And yeah, when Edge jumped off that ladder and speared Jeff Hardy. The funny thing is, I think you spear anybody else, it doesn't look as nearly as good. Jeff could take a bump, man.
Yeah.
Like the only guy I think during even close to that era that could have done that, like Dolph Ziggler, that guy can sell like crazy. Like, but
I don't think Dolph was around yet.
No, he wasn't yet. No, I'm just saying like if there's somebody that I could put up there with Jeff that could have sold that, a Dolph Ziggler would have been up there. But the way that Jeff hits the mat and his body flails and his hair whips. I mean, he made that
his body went this shape when he took the spear.
Yeah. Brett had 30-day clause before he could appear in WCCW. Should be December 1st. Yeah. And that's another bone of contention with that. A lot of people think that WCW wasted the opportunity to bring Brett in. They couldn't bring him in right away after the screw job. But that's kind of a whole nother story. I've already gone on a lot of tangents already. But
more.
Yeah, but we're trying not to be the positively off-topic show like we used to be, which is why that was one of the reasons we became a pro wrestling show too, was just to make sure that the show was at least always about pro wrestling, or about one thing. But all right, Lori, where's Lori?
Gone.
She's not on my screen. There she is. All right, Lori, do you have another pro wrestling shocking moment that you can recall?
When Mick Foley went off the Hell in the Cell cage.
Ooh, good one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. That was just after I had started really getting invested in all of pro wrestling again. Like I said, the NWO thing got me interested because it was Hulk Hogan turning heel, but I was still highly involved in everything high school. And so I was, football, baseball, girls, all that fun stuff. And
what a man.
I even played in the band. I was playing saxophone. I did everything in high school. And then, but when I got to college, my college roommate really got me highly invested back in WWE. And I remember going out, and of course, my favorite was Undertaker. And I bought an Undertaker VHS tape. For all you youngins out there, VHS preceded DVDs. And for those young people who still don't know, DVDs are the physical media that we had before HD and digital. But VHSs were a lot of fun. And on this VHS tape, The Undertaker, they covered his feud with Mankind. So I got to kind of catch up on Buried Alive, the Boiler Room Brawl. And I thought those were intense because WWE does a good job of recapping stuff. Then we get to Hell in a Cell. And I did not see any of that Hell in a Cell coming. That whole thing shocked the heck out of me. The first throw shocked me, but I think what kind of did it for me was it looked like Mick knew what he was doing on that one, because you see Mick turn in midair, which is very that's crazy, but it almost looked like, okay, that was the one thing that was planned. It seemed like, in retrospect, you see Mick turn and hit the thing. Still a horribly dangerous spot, not Shane McMahon did it, and there was a big bladder underneath the table to protect him. There was nothing underneath the table to protect Mick or the announcers. They also got taken out. But it was the choke slam through the cage when I started going, okay, I don't know what's real and what's not anymore.
Yeah.
Yep.
That didn't look like that was supposed to happen. And the chair hit Mick in the face when he hit the mat. He bounced on the mat. The chair smacks him in the face. His tooth gets knocked into his mouth, up into his navel cavity, and is hanging out his nose.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, And then Mick still does the match. Taker has a broken foot, by the way.
Yeah.
Going into this, Taker goes in with Taker's always hurt. Taker is always hurt. You watch Taker, he's limping 90% of his career. And then Mick pulls out thumbtacks. Now, again, I have not been following wrestling for a while. I haven't seen ECW. I don't know all the stuff that's going on. I've never seen thumbtacks in a ring before. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And he does it. He goes on it not once, but twice. A backdrop and a choke slam. Oh, that was, talk about shocking. My whole,
And Taker's boots and thumbtacks, yeah.
Yeah, there were.
And then only had the everyone thought was a booger time was his actual tooth in his nose.
Right. Yeah, the tooth was it had gone in his mouth, up into his navel cavity, and it come out his nose. That's disgusting. That whole match, even watching it back today, with everything we've seen since, is still a shocking match. You know, and it's one of those matches though where I watch it if I've seen it, and I see a lot of the things that guys do today, and you know, if that's what you're into, that's what you're into. But like, there's certain times when I just go, guys, what are we doing? Like AEW, I think kind of pushes things a little too far sometimes. And I'm like, guys, your career's short enough. You know, take care of yourselves. Like, there's a reason WWE doesn't allow a lot of this stuff anymore.
Yeah.
Right? Guys get hooked on painkillers. They get hooked on all of this stuff, and that shortens careers further. It shortens lives. You know, but I mean, I'm not here to say you can't enjoy what, as long as these guys are taking care of each other, that's all I care about.
Yeah.
It's why I love pro wrestling over things like UFC, stuff like that, because at the end of the day, these guys are professionals. They understand that each guy needs to earn a living for their families and stuff like that. So it's why I like professional wrestling. But yeah, Lori, do you remember the first time you ever saw the Hell in a Cell match? How did you react when you first saw that?
I think I was 8.
Okay.
I put it for.
So a little more mature than when Daniel Bryan won the title.
Yeah, and I think I remember turning to my dad going, "What did you just make me watch? I'm scared."
Yeah, she literally said that.
Because at the time I was super into wanting to become a professional wrestler, and I looked at my dad. I said, "If this is what's going to be happening, I'm not doing this."
Now, do you still want to be a professional wrestler, or have you moved on?
Moved on because I get injured so much lately.
Oh.
I'm injury prone.
Very, very injury prone.
She should do
You
more.
want an example? She's the Mick Foley household. She dropped. No, we ain't there yet. She this is within the last year and a half.
Right.
Within the last year and a half, we've had a heavy picture frame fall down and mess her wrist up. Then we had a forearm up, which she was basically excruciating amount of pain for 6 months. Had to go get some occupational therapy to get it all fixed up. She had tendonitis. She had a sore, messed up wrist before that. She's broken toes, concussions. In November, we were putting up our Christmas stuff off outside, and we had a wicked wind gust happen, and she was reaching, had the front door open. She was reaching out to talk to me as we were outside doing inflatables, and the wind blew, caught the storm door, and slammed the door shut around her fingers. She's showing you the finger. It's bandaged right now, but the nail's all black. It's falling off. Then about a couple of weeks later, she tripped over the vacuum that my son left in the hallway, and she sprained her ankle. Then while I'm at graduation, my son has a nebulizer he left out because they were doing a breathing treatment because everyone in the house got sick with the flu.
Right.
And she tripped over that with the bad foot and re-injured said ankle.
No, ankle was still injured.
And re-injured it worse. This is all in a little bit of time. She is injury prone.
Yeah, so
She's prepared like Mick Foley.
I would
Right?
I would say that professional wrestling is not in your future for sure. Yeah, let's not go there. Her career would be one training session and out.
Yeah.
It'd be like, all right, take a bump. Oh, wow. Oh, I didn't know that could bend that way. All right, let's get you out of here.
No one else, but
Not like that.
I'm taking a bump on the backyard. Than on the trampoline, because I thought 8-year-old me. Hey, let's try to do.
8-year-old you was more resilient than 18-year-old you.
Oh, my goodness. All right, guys. I want to talk about one more real quick before we have to start getting going here. Time has once again flown by because I always have so much fun on this show, especially when I got great guests and stuff. So, but this last thing, I'd been thinking about this moment, the moment I came up with and saying this is going to be the topic of today's show, because I think for me in professional wrestling, it was the most shocking moment, right? There's been a lot, and one of the things we didn't cover today was any wrestler deaths, and we're doing that for a very important reason, but those aren't shocking in entertaining ways or anything. And this isn't necessarily an entertaining one either, but it is maybe the most shocking thing that I remember about any pro wrestling story ever. All right? And it's only because I've grown up with it my entire life. And the one constant in professional wrestling for almost my entire life was one man. Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon, my professional wrestling life has always been there. And the shocking moment I'm talking about is like a 3-parter, right? I remember seeing the post that Vince was retiring from the WWE. That alone was a shocking moment. And then the not so shocking moment of, oh, Vince is back, which probably meant he was never really gone. And he claims it's so that he could, sell WWE, which of course he does, right? And then the next shocking moment is he's basically fired. So Vince goes from retired to back with a horrible mustache, selling WWE, to then being fired. Like, it was one of those crazy deals where Vince had survived so many different things, for good or bad. I'm not making judgment on anything, but like Vince had gotten through scandals, controversies, screw jobs, all kinds of stuff. WWE had come back from the brink when it looked like WCW was going to overtake them. Turned WWE into a pro wrestling juggernaut. Once in the 80s, and then again in the late 90s. The stuff that happened, I'm not here to talk about that because none of that's been decided, none of that's been settled, but Vince retiring back and fired, I mean, it's one of those you never thought you would see it. You thought Vince was going to die before any of that would happen.
I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Assuming with what you mentioned,
yeah,
and Vince is found innocent, which just hypothetically, do you think they're putting him in the Hall of Fame?
Wow, that's a good question. The fact that Brock is back and Brock was highly mentioned through all of this, I think that WWE, if it comes out and he is found to be innocent, I mean, obviously he would only be found innocent of the actual bad stuff that's being said, but it still doesn't take away the fact that he was a highly immoral man, obviously, which we've all known anyway. But yes, I do think WWE at the very least offers it. The question, I think the real question is does Vince accept it?
True.
Because Vince never really, I don't think that was ever something Vince cared about. I think Vince, for all of his faults that he has, and he does have plenty. I think the Hall of Fame was more of Vince's way of, you know, yeah, you kind of had to be in his good graces at the time, but it was a way to just say thank you. Vince didn't want to be mentioned in speeches. He hated being mentioned in speeches because it took the focus off of the inductee. And that's, I think, the $1 million question. Does Vince accept? And I think it would take someone like Taker to convince him to accept it if that were the case.
Or Cena.
Or Cena, yeah. Or Cena. Yeah. And it really, like, all of this, I remember when it all was starting to go down, it really bothered me because, you know, being a big Taker fan and knowing how close he was to Vince and stuff, I mean, it's like, you know, those relationships and stuff seemed like they were so solid and everything, and now it was such a shocking time, you know. And we went to 39, Seth and I and my son Owen, we went to WrestleMania 39, which was technically, even though we were still living in the end of the Vince era and storylines and stuff, that was the first Vince-less WrestleMania. You know, there was no Vince at WrestleMania, even though, like we said, a lot of people thought he was still behind the scenes somewhere calling the shots. But yeah, that's where I want to end. But I want to get your guys' thoughts really quickly. Chris, what did you think when you saw Vince was done?
Yeah, I think creatively, I think it was time. I mean, yes, we've always, you know, I agree, associating WWE with Vince being at the helm, and what is WWE without Vince's, you know, creatively, it was you know, what is going to happen? Is the product going to get worse or whatnot? But also at the same time, we had things like that caused the John Moxley character for him to defect and go to AEW, because Vince was just completely slipping creatively on a lot of top talent towards the end. And we got a lot of really goofy storylines that started to remind us of the character gimmicks of the 90s, of where, like, okay, a lot of this is going nowhere.
Oh, like the egg?
What's that?
Like the golden egg?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So I think signs of his age and signs of him being creatively done was starting to show. So I think it was a good business decision ultimately.
Okay. George, your thoughts?
So I never thought I would see it happen with him still breathing.
Right.
I thought he was going to retire that way. I figured that his retirement was going to be him meeting the Lord. I thought that was it. He was going to do it until the wheels completely fell off, and that was that.
Yep.
Love him or hate him, Vince McMahon gave us wrestling.
Yep.
Basically, because I don't think it would still be around today the way it is if it wasn't for the 80s and 90s. If it wasn't for us getting stuff like Hulk Hogan, Macho Man, Ultimate Warrior, the Bushwhackers, Jake the Snake Roberts, Austin, Bret Hart, Shawn, all this, like, we wouldn't have anything that we have today. Or any of the remember, like, all the wrestlers that we have today were influenced by all those guys growing up, right? So we wouldn't have any of this if it wasn't for Vince doing what Vince did and making wrestling a household name. If WrestleMania didn't take off, it was dead. Right. So
I just love, this is why I love George, right? This right here is why I love George. George just named off some of the biggest names of all time, some of the WrestleMania headliners he names off, and the Bushwhackers.
Can't forget about those guys.
Oh man, love it. All right, guys, real quick before we head out, I want to remind you guys to head on over to positivelypatsims.printful.me today. Pick up your Positively Pat Sims Show button-up shirt. You can also pick up your Positively Pat Sims high-top canvas shoes. They come in black and white to go with that beautiful blue. And we have our Positively Pat Sims yoga mat. That's right. It says right on there to take it easy. And if it's easy, take it twice.
Take it twice.
Stretch, focus, and dominate the ring. But also, guys, as a favor to my good friend Doc Haywood and all of my buddies over at PCW, I promised that I was going to do this for them anytime Doc's not on the show. So, ladies and gentlemen, the future of Northern California wrestling takes center stage on PCW Limelight. 2 rising prospects make their Limelight debut as Bam Bam Chris Barbosa faces the big bad Shaq Wolf. Barbosa's speed and MMA background could help him avoid the devastating spinal destruction, but if Shaq connects, it may be lights out. Then after a brutal attack on PCW Prospects champion All-Pro Reno, duct taping him to the ring and declaring, "You're not the future of this business, I am." The final chapter, Bishop Dorian comes to Limelight to claim the gold. Can Reno defend his championship and get revenge, or will Bishop Dorian carry the Prospects title back to the Ugly Dojo? The next generation fights for dominance. Pride, revenge, and championship gold are on the line, and the future of NorCal wrestling is here. Watch PCW Limelight every week right here on YouTube at 12 Pacific, 3 Eastern for the best pro wrestling action in Northern California. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us on WANT Radio, as well as right here on YouTube. It is always great to have the Sims Nation here for great discussions and conversations like we had today. Don't miss out next week, when next week on this show we will be previewing the WWE 2026 Elimination Chamber PLE, which takes place next Saturday evening. So we're going to be exclusively previewing and predicting that show right here. You're not going to want to miss that. And this Tuesday, it will be another great edition of our all-new show, Game Night, where Seth's going to join us this time. Owen joined us last time for a hilarious edition of the Mario Kart 64, which if you want to see somebody suck at Mario Kart, I'm your guy. Oh, that was bad. But we're going to have every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern will be our new game night show. And Friday nights at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern is our Warriors Unleashed show that's all about health, fitness, and mindset to help you get inspired to be an inspiration. All right, guys, that's going to do it. I want to give a big shout out and a big thank you to DDPY Warrior and his daughter, George and Lori Fenmore. Thank you so much, guys. And I want to thank another fellow DDPY Warrior and my good buddy, Christopher Hall. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, guys. Love to see it.
All right, and I want to thank my co-host for today, staring off into the wilderness, the one and only Seth Sims.
Hey.
Yeah, there you go. All right.
Well, I didn't know if I was supposed to say something or just live.
You just live, brother.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for us. Thank you so much for watching us here. And don't forget what we always say. The most important thing every Saturday morning that we say on this show, take it easy. And if it's easy, take it twice. So long, everybody. We'll see you next week on the Positively Pat Sims Show.
The lights are dim, but the room still hums with the echoes of laughter and the moments we spun. Every honest word is like a stone in a stream. It rippled, it lingered, it shaped our dreams.